What if we told you that the man behind Tesla and SpaceX, Elon Musk, decided to run for president?
Well, that's the premise we're diving into today.
We're dissecting a fictional manuscript called Musk Nation, which imagines just that, a world where Elon Musk wins the 2028 election.
It's a wild ride through a future shaped by Musk's boldest ambitions. And it begs the question, what happens when a tech disruptor gets handed the reins of the most powerful nation on Earth?
It definitely makes you wonder, right? So how does this fictional Musk convince America to put him in the Oval Office? What's his pitch?
He runs on this platform of radical change, tapping into that frustration with the establishment. You know, the same old, same old.
Right, that feeling that things are broken and we need someone completely different to fix them.
Exactly. And who better embodies that than the guy who sent a car into space? He's already broken the mold in the business world. Now he's promising to do the same in Washington.
So what are some of these radical campaign promises? Give me the highlights.
Imagine this, a permanent Mars colony by 2035.
Okay, that's ambitious, even for Musk.
Right. And that's just the beginning. We're talking about turning the U.S. energy grid over to Tesla, making renewable energy the only game in town.
Wow.
And then there's the whole AI-driven governance thing. Musk basically wants to replace bureaucrats with algorithms.
It's like he looked at the government and said, this whole system needs a software update.
Pretty much. And his supporters eat it up. The manuscript describes these massive rallies that feel more like tech conferences, with SpaceX prototypes on display and Musk promising to make Earth great again.
So how does he actually pull it off? How does someone who's known for tweeting memes and bucking conventions win over the American heartland?
Well, for one, he plays by his own rules. Like, his campaign announcement isn't some stuffy press conference. It's a single tweet, or I guess it would be an X now, that goes viral in minutes.
Classic Musk, going straight to the people.
Right. He even refuses to take donations from corporations or lobbyists, so he funds the entire campaign himself. He's basically saying, I'm beholden to no one but you, the American people.
Okay, so he gets elected. What's the first thing President Musk does? How does he shake things up once he's actually in the White House?
He cleans house literally. Out with the old guard, in with what he calls the apex. Imagine a cabinet made up of scientists, engineers, tech CEOs, the best minds in their fields.
Wait, so instead of seasoned politicians, we have Silicon Valley running the country.
It's a complete overhaul of the system. Think a former SpaceX engineer as Secretary of State, a Nobel laureate in physics advising on energy policy.
Wow, talk about disrupting the status quo. I can only imagine what those old school politicians thought about that.
Oh, they hated it.
Yeah.
But Musk thrives on that kind of disruption. He creates entirely new departments, like a Department of Artificial Intelligence, headed by, you guessed it, a former Neuralink executive.
Musk putting his people in key positions. Not surprising, I guess, but this is bigger than just personnel changes, right? This is about fundamentally changing how the government operates.
Exactly. Take this, for example. He creates something called NAIS.
NAS, what's that? Some kind of supercomputer?
You could say that. It stands for the National AI Advisory System. Basically, it's this incredibly advanced AI designed to analyze data, massive amounts of data from every sector, and provide policy recommendations in real time.
So instead of congressional debates and committees, we have an algorithm telling us what to do.
That's the basic idea. The manuscript argues that this AI-driven approach is faster, less prone to corruption, and more objective than the traditional way of doing things.
I'm sure some people found that terrifying, though, right? The idea of handing over so much power to a machine. So we've got AI calling the shots in Washington. What does that look like for the average person just living their life? Is everyone zipping around in self-driving Teslas, rocketing off to Mars for the weekend?
Well, the manuscript paints a picture of daily life that's pretty mind-blowing, technologically speaking. Think self-driving electric vehicles, not just on the roads, but navigating through designated air corridors.
Flying cars. So the Jetsons were right all along.
Kind of. And it's not just transportation. Imagine a world powered by a 100% renewable energy grid. Solar farms stretching across deserts, offshore wind turbines dotting the coastlines.
It's a pretty utopian vision, at least on the surface. But we both know technology isn't always a magic bullet, right? Especially when it comes to social equality. What about the folks who can't afford the latest Neuralink upgrade or a ticket to Mars?
Yeah, that's the dark side of this tech utopia. The manuscript really digs into this growing divide between the haves and the have-nots.
So we're talking about a world where the rich are literally enhancing their brains, becoming superhuman, while everyone else gets left behind.
It's a real concern in the book. You've got these tech elites living in these exclusive high-tech enclaves, some even talking about achieving digital immortality.
Digital immortality. Hold on. Are we talking about uploading your consciousness to the cloud, like in Transcendence or something?
Exactly. It's like this whole transhumanist dream, but it's only accessible to the very few. And meanwhile, you've got people struggling to make ends meet, replaced by automation, their skills obsolete.
Yeah, it's like that saying, the future is here, it's just not evenly distributed.
Right. And the book doesn't shy away from the social unrest this creates. You see these protests, these movements pushing back against this widening gap between the haves and the have-nots.
So what happens? Does Musk's administration try to address this inequality?
He tries, in his own way. The manuscript talks about a universal basic income program being implemented to help people displaced by automation.
UBI? That's been a hot topic for a while now. Basically, the government just gives everyone a regular paycheck, regardless of whether they work or not.
Yeah, that's the basic idea. But even that doesn't solve everything. You've got these deeper questions about the future of work, the value of human labor in a world where machines can do almost everything.
It's like this whole social contract is being rewritten before our eyes.
Exactly. And then there's the energy revolution. Musk delivers on his promise of ending America's dependence on foreign oil, but it creates all these ripple effects.
Yeah, what happens to the economies built on oil and gas? Like, think about Texas, Oklahoma, places where entire communities rely on those industries.
It's a tough transition. The manuscript highlights these struggles through this one town, showing how some people adapt, maybe find new jobs in the renewable energy sector, while others are left behind.
It's a reminder that progress always has its casualties, even if it's progress towards a more sustainable future.
Definitely. And then there's the whole Mars colonization thing. Remember that?
Okay, how could we forget? Does he actually manage to get people to Mars in this timeline?
He does. It's actually a major plot point in the book. The first permanent human colony on Mars is established during Musk's presidency.
Wow, that's huge. So humanity becomes a multiplanetary species, just like he always envisioned. But it doesn't sound like that solves all of Earth's problems, does it?
Not at all. In fact, it creates a whole new set of challenges.
Like what?
Well, for starters, there's the sheer difficulty of surviving on Mars. The manuscript goes into detail about the technical hurdles, the psychological strain, the ethical dilemmas of altering another planet to suit our needs.
Yeah.
And then there's this growing tension between the colonists on Mars and the people back on Earth.
It's like this whole us versus them mentality develops.
Exactly. The Martian colonists start to see themselves as pioneers, forging a new future for humanity. They feel like the ones who took the risk, who made the sacrifice to escape a dying Earth, and the people left behind. They're dealing with the consequences of Musk's policies, the economic upheaval, the social unrest.
So even achieving this incredible feat, colonizing another planet, it's not a clean break from the past. It seems like the problems just follow us into the future, even as we reach for the stars.
That seems to be one of the big takeaways from the book. That even with all our technological advancements, we can't escape the complexities of human nature.
Last time, we left off with Elon Musk as president, humans on Mars, AI calling the shots, flying cars. It's a lot to take in, but this is Musk Nation, and things are rarely simple, right?
Right, and it doesn't stay utopian forever. As Musk's second term unfolds, things start to, well, how should I put this? Unravel a bit.
Dude, do tell. What happens? Robots rising up, AI going rogue?
It's actually a bit more nuanced than that. Remember Direct Democracy 2.0, that whole digital voting system Musk implemented?
Vaguely, remind me.
So Musk basically bypasses Congress and puts every major policy decision to a public vote, all done through this super secure online platform. He calls it the ultimate evolution of democracy, putting power directly in the hands of the people.
Sounds great in theory. What could go wrong?
Well, in the manuscript, it all comes to a head with this referendum on Neuralink implants, those brain-computer interfaces we talked about.
Okay, yeah. They're talking about making them mandatory for newborns.
Yep. Mandatory. Every single baby born in the U.S. would get a Neuralink implant.
Mm-hmm.
And the public. Let's just say it doesn't go over well.
You're kidding. Even in this future where Musk is basically this godlike tech CEO turned president.
It becomes this huge controversy. You've got people from all sides, liberals, conservatives, even some of Musk's own supporters, saying this is a step too far.
I can see that. It's one thing to choose to augment yourself as an adult, but to impose that on a child, that's a whole other ethical minefield.
Exactly. People start questioning everything. Parental rights, corporate overreach, even the definition of what it means to be human in this new world. It becomes this focal point for all the anxieties around Musk's technocratic vision.
So what happens? Does he back down? Does the referendum pass?
He digs in at first, tries to make his case directly to the people using all those persuasive tech bro tactics. But the tide has turned.
People had enough.
The referendum fails by a landslide. It's this major blow to Musk's authority, this sign that even in this future he built, he's not infallible. And it doesn't stop there. The manuscript portrays all these other things starting to unravel too.
Like what? Give me the juicy details.
Remember NAIS, that AI advisory system that was basically running the government?
Yeah, Musk's big solution to human error and inefficiency.
Well, it turns out AI isn't so perfect after all. There are these unforeseen consequences, biases built into the algorithms that start to create some really big problems.
So the machines aren't as neutral and objective as Musk thought they'd be.
Not quite. And to make matters worse, the global landscape is changing too. The shift to renewable energy creates all these new power dynamics. Remember those resource wars we talked about? Yeah, those start heating up. And all the while, the social fabric is fraying.
So Musk's grand experiment, this tech utopia, it's all falling apart. What does he do?
The Musk in the book, he has a moment of reckoning. He realizes that maybe, just maybe, he pushed too far, too fast. He steps in before the end of his second term, retreating from public life to, well, who knows, maybe go back to building rockets in peace.
That's quite the fall from grace.
Sure.
What happens to America after Musk?
That's the question, isn't it? The book doesn't really offer a happy ending, not in the traditional sense. It paints this picture of a nation grappling with the legacy of Musk's ambition. The Neuralink cities stand empty, people realizing that maybe a hyper-connected life wasn't all it was cracked up to be.
It's like that saying, be careful what you wish for, or in this case, be careful who you vote for.
Right. And more importantly, be careful about putting all your faith in technology to solve all our problems. Musk Nation is a cautionary tale, a reminder that progress can be messy, unpredictable, and sometimes even dangerous if we're not careful.
It certainly gives us a lot to think about. We've got flying cars, Mars colonies, AI running the government. It's tempting to get caught up in all the exciting possibilities. But like any good story, it's the questions that linger long after you finish reading that really stick with you.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, ask those hard questions. What are the trade-offs we're willing to make in the name of progress? What does it really mean to be human in an age of increasingly powerful technology? These aren't just hypothetical questions. These are the challenges we're facing right now in the real world.
And that's what we're all about here at The Deep Dive, exploring those big questions, even if there aren't any easy answers. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through a Musk Nation. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep those critical thinking caps firmly secured.